The hot housing market is forcing potential buyers to keep renting.
Well, it is no secret prices for homes in Puget Sound are sky high
As home prices continue to soar.
Some big numbers coming out of the housing market today.
The house hunting market in 2022 is absolutely wild. The pandemic and the events that followed put into motion a home buying frenzy that left a shortage of houses on the market.
One house in the South Bay for sale for every 1,200 buyers.
Prices all over the country are on the rise.
So you want to jump in the fray? Supposedly nobody is able to buy right now, but with these strategies I'm going to show you what you can do to have the best chance of winning that bid. What's up, Napolitanos? My name's David. I'm going to be showing you how to buy a house in 2022. Before you call up the first realtor you see on realtor.com, let's talk about preparation. The single most important thing you can do before you start shopping for a house is shopping for a mortgage. For example, the true cost of a loan of $500,000 30-year loan with an interest rate of 3.5% is $808,000. This is $25,000 less than that same loan with a 3.75% interest rate. This means that spending a few hours finding the right mortgage broker and the right loan program is well worth it over the long run. So what do you look for in a mortgage broker? I generally recommend buyers look for a local to wherever you're buying. A local agent has more experience in that market and knows what conditions are there. They know which appraisers understand the market, and they'll know, for example, if a buyer's loan program supports condominiums. Look for someone who's active on social media. You want to see that they are active and engaged in the community. Also, the big nationwide companies, sometimes they can be really hard to get a hold of. Also, interview 2 or 3 to get a great broker. I wouldn't recommend you just go with the first one that you come across. Find a realtor. This is where I do a little research. The old school realtors are well entrenched in the neighborhood and really don't do much marketing. They work mainly off referrals, which is great. If you know somebody and they refer you a realtor, just go ahead and use that realtor. At least you'll know what to expect. Speaking of referrals, I can give you a referral to an agent, even if you're buying outside of Florida. It helps me and helps the channel. So if you find this video helpful and that's something you're interested in, let me know. Referrals are the main way that people get to meet realtors. I would look for a realtor who's active on social media and active in their community. Do they highlight local knowledge and local communities? I'd also check out the realtor reviews for past clients to see how they generally perceive them. Have they done deals lately? The market's changed a lot in the last 12 months. Are they keeping up with these changes? Once you've chosen a realtor, it's time to get the data. Back in the olden days, realtors had a printed off list which showed all the houses that were for sale. Your realtor was the only one with all the data and knew all of your preferences. And they would compile a list of houses they thought you might want to go look at, and off you went. Now it's a lot easier than that. Zillow, realtor.com, and virtually every realtor in the world has a website you can go to and shop for every house that's on the market. Data is easy to come by nowadays. That said, your realtor can customize this data down to a very granular level. Want a condo that will accept your 20-pound dog? Your realtor can send you that. You want a community that has a pool? There are a lot of things that your realtor can dial directly in on, and then they can send you that data in an email monthly, weekly, daily, or even as soon as a new house goes on the market. And in this market, that's really important because you will need to have your realtor make arrangements to show you the property pretty much within the first 24 hours of it being listed on the market. Speaking of showings, before you go on your first showing, your realtor should send you a couple of forms. One being the equal housing opportunity and other required disclosures, and another being the buyer's agent commission agreement. If you want a good realtor, they're going to require to get paid. It's as simple as that. 99 times out of 100, the seller will pay the buyer's agent. Where I see this come up a lot is in for sale by owner. Let's say you've been working with your realtor for a while, and one day you see a for sale by owner sign on a house. That seller will likely agree to pay for the buyer's agent commission because they want to sell their house and they're willing to pay a percentage to do it. But if those sellers don't, the realtor can still help the transaction go through because the buyers agreed to pay for the help. Once you've found the houses you want to go look at, call up your realtor and have him or her scheduled to go look at them. This is the fun part. When you see a house you want to buy, you'll need to make some decisions extremely quickly because there's a lot of work your agent will need to do on the back end. He'll need to do a CMA, which is a market analysis, to find out approximately what the house is worth. He'll also want to call the listing agent and find out how many other offers are in on that property and what the timeline of the sellers are. Once you know what the comparables are in that neighborhood, you should decide how much that house is worth to you. And I say to you because in all likelihood, that house is going to sell for well over the asking price. So you need to go over the budget with the mortgage broker and generally look at houses priced 10% less than what you can afford, because you'll probably need to go over the asking price. So if you can afford a $500,000 house, start by looking at homes in the $450,000 range. If your price is over what the appraiser prices, the bank may require you to either cancel the deal or you might have to pay the difference out of pocket. This is where a little wiggle room comes in. Now, before you put in the offer, you should know what type of offer you want to put on it. You may want to ask your realtor about as-is contracts versus standard contracts. There's a lot of different contracts out there, and you'll want to know ahead of time what the implications of that contract are. If you choose an as-is contract, you can get out of the deal for any reason up until the contingency date, but the seller isn't obliged to fix any major defects. So contracts matter, and they make a difference. So discuss them with your realtor before you put that offer in. Now, you put your offer in, you submit it, great, you're halfway there. If the offer is accepted, it's really important that you adhere to the deadlines of your specific contract. If you have 30 days to get financing, then you've got to get right on it. Stay in frequent contact with your realtor and make sure you know what needs to be done, because if you don't, then you are at risk of losing your deposit. In general, there are 4 main dates to keep track of: the down payment date, the inspection contingency date, the financial contingency date, and the closing date. Before we discuss those 4 main dates, I have a favor to ask you. If you've gotten some value out of this video, can you give it a thumbs up? Great, thanks. The down payment is how much you're putting up in exchange for the seller's listing the property as pending. You are at risk of losing this deposit if you don't comply with the terms of the contract. But in theory, you can get this deposit back if the seller breaks their end of the contract. I say in theory because escrow won't be released until both sides sign the agreement that the escrow needs to be released, or a judge awards it to one party. The inspection needs to be done by a qualified licensed inspector. It is a big purchase, and you have little resources if there are any problems after the sale. So you absolutely need an inspection to flesh out those issues before you close. Don't be tempted to waive this inspection. The financial contingency is the date by which the bank needs the commitment, whether they're going to fund the loan or not. If you delay your application, it delays the whole process. So again, it's something you want to stay on top of. The final date is the closing date. This is one of those overlooked bargaining chips. If your seller wants to move up or move back the date, sometimes you can get an edge over other buyers knowing that information ahead of time. It's always good to have your realtor ask the listing agent if the sellers have a preferred closing date. And that's it. If you've done everything up to this point, you should be able to buy your home in 2022. Leave your best tips below in the comments. Ciao, Napolitanos.